Welcome to Coach Bites. This is the 30th of July, 2020. On behalf of ICF Mumbai Charter Chapter, it gives me great pleasure to welcome our guest for the day, Jill Majeski. Jill is not only a bright and happy soul when I meet her, but there's so many good things her clients also have to say. One of the things that I'd like to read out especially is Jill's approach was soulful and supportive, allowing me to make my own discoveries. She offers bespoke coaching services with a focus on elevating personal awareness, emotional resiliency. And she also creates a strong personal foundation as a starting point for all higher aspirations and relationships. Jill is a PCC from the International Coach Federation, and she believes that coaching to enable the discovery of our true innate power and essence to emerge from within is her ethos of what coaching is all about. I am so happy to welcome her to the session today, and I am so excited to get to know her story and what does coaching mean to her. Let's hear it from her directly. Jill, welcome to the session.
Thank you so much, Priya, for that beautiful introduction. Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here.
Awesome. So let's begin with the first question that I have for you.
Sure.
All of us coaches, we sort of take to coaching as some sort of thing that's either it's a pivot or it's a conscious decision, or it's something that inadvertently happens, or it's something that, that is a natural flow into, or whatever the case. We'd love to hear what your story is. What drew you to coaching?
Such an interesting question. It's very reflective to look back on what brought me to where I am today in the work. So it's interesting. I think from what you have said, coaching was kind of a new emergence for me professionally that was coming out of a career in education. And it was definitely a calling to change and transform, to evolve and to grow. So I have one of those stories where, one day I woke up and I didn't want to go to work anymore, which was a very alarming realization to have when you're in a career, in a settled career, where you're very well established and very happy for the most part in terms of where you're heading professionally and where you've reached. Yet there was this kind of disturbance within. And I have to say, I took this turn pretty abruptly. Within a couple of weeks, I had put in my resignation and said to myself, if this isn't where I want to be, then let's look at where I do want to be. It was a combination of taking also some insights from colleagues, from friends over the years, who had actually, I can remember, as much as as far back as 2010, where someone actually called me a life coach. And I didn't even know what that meant at that time. And then a couple of years later, I had a trusted friend and mentor who's a bank executive, who's been a friend for a very long time. And she kind of guided me into a coaching course that was available in the US. She said, I spent 5.5 days doing this course, and she says, you can't go wrong, you must look into it. So I did some research and booked the course. Went to Singapore a couple of months later to my first initial introduction into coaching. And between committing to that course and starting my training, I also fell into some energy psychology healing practices and started to already begin to connect with individuals one-on-one. And it was a real gateway for me into coaching as well. So I really came into coaching kind of with all guns blazing and with this very, very strong intention to do the work. And I think that really kickstarted my coach training, and right off the bat, was charging and enjoying the joy of starting a new career for myself. So it was a huge activation that was happening in my heart, and I never really looked back.
That was lovely. Thank you so much for sharing, how coaching came to you. And each of us has different story to tell. And through that, that somehow I feel that, these angels appear, when you're ready to learn. And it's like, you were ready. You had that epiphanic, one morning. And, what builds from there, is like the change, the need for change. And it happened. And somehow the right people came into your path and you were actually able to make that change for yourself, which is great. um, so my it's been a while since you've been coaching now. How many years has it been?
I've, I've just completed 5 years of coaching full time.
Oh, lovely. So if you've completed 5 years of coaching, if I were to ask you today, what is the analogy for you on coaching?
So coaching is really a synergetic connection between two people. It's a conversation. And it's not like any normal conversation, but one that holds the space for a person to really explore and to create and eventually thrive in whatever way they're asking in life to thrive. And the analogy that comes to mind is the symbol that I have actually for my business and my work, which I call Reconnect. And the tagline is Discover the Power Within. And the logo is two interconnected spirals, one that's going in and one that's also emerging from the center and coming out. So I very much think of it as this process of exploring, obviously, our outward journey, which is our life, our physical life, from birth to learning to exploration. But somehow in the connection that you have in a conversation, there's this component of looking more inwards and exploring the world within ourselves. And in that way, coaching really kind of directs us to look inside ourselves and see what's happening, maybe back to source, if you will. So the power you're discovering is within yourself, your own power.
Wonderful. I love that. The fact that, said this whole inward and outward journey. And it's so true, that the power lies within each of us. And that's what coaching also makes you realize. What is the typical client you feel that you're most comfortable serving?
So my coaching services are open to all. It's not only those who are looking to know themselves from a spiritual space or go deeper within themselves. I work with primarily working professionals who really want more from life and are ready to do what it takes to feel the way they want to feel. I serve clients that are committed, most of all, to doing their inner work over a course of time and see the work with a coach as an evolution, or the evolution within themselves that takes its own time. So anyone who really wants to look more deeply within themselves and understand themselves, build a relationship with themselves, such that they can show up in their life and their work and their relationships, feeling more like themselves, comfortable in their own skin. Honestly, those are the kind of people that I work with. So I have the length and breadth of clients from, very high profile people to very ordinary folks. And it's part of the reason why I love the work that I do, is because I get a chance to connect with all different types of people, yet on a very, very meaningful and soulful plane. The things that matter most to them is what we're talking about. So these are mainly the types of clients that I serve.
Wonderful. So, yeah. So, one thing that comes to my mind here, Jill, is that when we say that, we have the length and breadth of, clients, high profile people to ordinary people, is there a train of commonality of the kind of things that they work with, that runs through both, this broad spectrum of clients that you serve?
I think a common thread is this idea that they really want to feel empowered in their lives. And they realize that the only way they're going to do that is by empowering themselves to really take extreme radical, responsibility and radical acceptance for themselves, and really be able to guide themselves from this inner knowing. I think most of my clients really have a strong sense of wanting to feel free and be independent and guide their lives. So I have very strong-willed clients. I have some very, very interesting people who really want to be creative with what this life offers to them. So I think the relationship with self is always the thing that they're all cultivating, and is the common outcome that I see most of them delve into and spend time working towards.
So true. In fact, the more one, this empowerment word, is so powerful. The more I look at it, every human being needs that sense of empowerment that I can.
Yeah.
For which I love, Barack Obama's speech for that. The why was it so successful is, yes, I can.
Yeah.
This belief, this self-belief that, I'm not limited. I can do much, much more. And that is huge. So yeah, the empowerment is a strong one that a lot of people want to work on. Wonderful. So, Jill, as a part of what we do as coaches, we also, go along with the ICF competencies. And there are, as you know, several of them that we, try to follow in our coaching engagements with our clients. So what is the strongest one that, that holds sort of dearest to you, and that you really sort of relate to completely yourself in your personal life and, of course, professional life?
Yeah, ICF competencies are beautiful support structure with which to coach. I'm very familiar and really resonate with many of them. Yet the communicating effectively, there's a piece on creating awareness. And I really feel that so much of the conversation space with a coach and a coachee is really about allowing that awareness to surface from the coachee. So for me, to sit back and create a space for this empowerment, as I spoke to come through, for it to have a voice, for it to have a resonance of its own, so that the client can kind of wear whatever it is that they're looking to create. And I become a witness to that. I become a witness to them creating their own awareness. So as a coach, I really feel like this is where the essence lies. And it can happen at any point in the conversation. It can happen at the beginning, the middle, the end, throughout. So it's one of these it's a bubbling and percolating which can happen in a conversation, which I just find so beautiful. At any moment, something can emerge. And to really just allow that emergence of awareness to stick around and take space and grow, for a coachee to really look at themselves in that space. So I just find this to be beautiful, and I find it to be at the heart of what I do as a coach.
Wonderful. I love that, creating awareness and, just making them just realize. You said in the beginning of this call about, making them discover their blind spots. In fact, even you got yourself a coach who helped you discover your blind spots. And, in turn, you're doing that now for perhaps your clients, just making them aware of, the paradigm they perhaps exist in, and what the power they have within themselves, and sort of empowering them that yes, you can. That's is so powerful. And it's just so gratifying for coaches. I'm sure you must feel so, that when your client completes the session, that sense of that pump up they get of wow, there is something happening, there is a possibility, there is potential. Wonderful. So it was lovely hearing all of this. What I'd love to hear also from you is a coaching success story. What was your personal learning as well from that experience?
So some of the success stories that really come to mind are those who are the clients who are working over time, over the course of time, to evolve and change. And specifically, one client comes to mind who I started working with quite early in my coaching career, and she still comes back for sessions. And I think it has a lot to do with relationships, how she is looking at herself, but also how her work with herself, the way she perceives herself, has helped her to show up in her job, in her personal relationships. It's allowed her to, do anything from change her locality to really go for that big promotion, or even just to resolve the spaces with her mother, for example, in an intimate personal relationship, to be able to really care for her mother in her elder years in a very graceful and loving way, letting go of so many things. So I just feel like, when people work over time, you get to see that their whole perspective on life kind of changes. And the way that they perceive life changes. It's almost like you get that lease on life. And I think I've seen some of my clients really get a new lease on life where the doors are kind of opening, or there are more doors, there are more possibilities where they can go. They feel more at choice. So this client in particular feels more at choice. She's almost like, she said to me before, I feel like I'm in the driver's seat of my life again. Life is no longer running me. I'm driving my life. So this feels, as a coach, when I see her, I'm like, great, where are you driving? Where are we going? I'm so excited for the next adventure. So life becomes more an adventure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. And I think really I think the learning that I have had with having some of these really being able to witness some of these evolutionary processes, just this idea that people are ready to do what they're ready to do. And it's not until we're ready that we jump, and really holding space for whatever is coming up. There is no judgment in terms of how big or how small or how impactful something is. Everything is so dear and important to a client. And I think just sitting back and being with a person and holding space for them, sometimes even in silence, sometimes really slowing down the pace of a conversation, can really support them to really come up with everything they need to know. So as a coach, I really don't have to offer suggestions, solutions, conclusions. I don't even have to make a lot of observations if I really hold that client in the highest regard in that space and let them emerge. They know everything they need to know. So this has been a powerful learning for me, and where I think professionally coaching has become even something much different for me over the years on what my role is as a coach. And just really trusting people have their own guidance system. They don't need their coach to guide. They all have their own internal compasses guiding them. So we just really focus in on whatever that is calling to. So I've learned to really kind of sit back and let people explore.
Yes, moving from that telling approach of life that we are sort of brought up and we've been exposed to move to this listening and questioning and open questioning and trusting, which leads to that sense of intimacy and that discovery that yes, I too can do it. Just the fact that you're able to empower them with that sense of confidence, that self-confidence actually is phenomenal. Wonderful work, Jill. Really lovely. Is there a particular style you adopt while you coach?
So my coaching style really adapts to fit the needs of the client. I have to say I'm a little bit of a chameleon in the coach department. So for clients who are new to the coaching arena, the conversations are very structured, and they take a very focused approach on whatever it is, the outcome that the client wants. And as clients become more familiar with the coaching space, it naturally kind of goes into a personal development or a personal foundations type coaching, where we're really exploring specific values, beliefs, assumptions, bias, just getting to know ourselves and maybe the hidden iceberg piece of who we are. For clients that are more familiar with the coaching space, we can really do a deep dive. So the style of coaching, the pace really slows down, and it becomes more of a healing space where clients can really explore themselves. And there's much less intervention and much more allowance. This would be characterized by, a bit more silence, a bit more inner investigation into the body, the heart, the gut, every part of ourselves. So as a coach, I can really adapt and adjust as the client needs. So whatever it is they come to a session requiring, I can adjust the style and to whatever the client needs at that time, to meet them exactly in the space that they are, with whatever intensity, space, focus, wide open as required. So my coaching style is different for different people, and I just trust whatever's happening in that moment and whatever the client's asking for, and do my best to deliver.
Fantastic, Jill. Jill, do you also use certain tools, maybe psychometric or any other tools in your coaching, or do you just stick with the coaching process?
I primarily stick within the coaching process. At this time, I don't use any psychometrics. Many professionals that come to me already have the psychometrics within their companies. So many of them forward me their psychometrics that they've already taken. But otherwise, I don't prescribe any specific tools. The tools I do use are ones which I have kind of worked with for many years, and it's more process-based work. So what I mean by that is any kind of investigation that clients want to do offline to kind of build that inner inquiry, build that habit or that capacity to reflect within themselves on their own time and space. So I do use and have developed my own tools for clients to do their inner exploration offline between sessions. So, and it's worked quite well. They also develop that inner guidance system and that inner belief that the work belongs to them.
So my next question to you, dear, is why do you think coaching is a critical tool in life? Why do we need coaching as a society, as a thriving society?
I think coaching really provides an opportunity for that to happen. The reflection, the slowdown, the questioning, but not in a supportive way, questioning in a very supportive way. And questioning with this idea that I don't necessarily need to know the answer right off the bat. And that sometimes it can just be a matter of the more beautiful question. And I think someone who's come from a background in education, working with teachers, leaders, educators, I think that when we learn to coach, we also learn to listen. And I think there's something to be said to really learning to understand our students or our colleagues. And ultimately, if we're questioning and we're really listening and we're really understanding, it opens up the gateway to connect. And through connection, we can really see ourselves in others and embrace others. And dare I say, really learn to love each other in a very holistic way. And I really feel like, coaching is really a doorway to not only critically think, but to look inside and interact with the world in a different way. So I see a lot of potential in coaching, and there isn't really a place where it wouldn't support some aspect of understanding and connection. I think it can really permeate into relationships, both personal and professional. And I'd love to see it used more. And I think it is, it's permeating So much of the discussion is coming now into raising our consciousness and raising our awareness. And I think coaching has a place, a very strong place in that new paradigm that's coming in. And I'm happy to be a part of it. It's a pleasure.
Yes, yes, the wave of coaching is growing, and it is only putting a smile on my face more than anybody else, I'm sure. I love the fact that, more coaches enroll. That means more people get more empowered, and they're able to share their time with others and help them feel empowered.
Mm.
In fact, the word of this session is empowerment. I love that. And just the sense of awareness. So Jill, just as you did some 5+ years ago when you turned to coaching, what give advice for potential coaches who are considering coaching as a career?
Mm. For people who are looking into getting into the coaching fraternity and making coaching their career, I'd really say to them or ask them whether how invested they are in their own development. So I'd say if you're really, really wanting to deep dive into yourself and deep dive into the work and make the work of knowing yourself and understanding and investigating, if this is where you want to go personally, from a personal perspective, and you want to dedicate yourself to your own journey and your own transformation, then I would say coaching is a great arena to be in. And oftentimes they say you can go as far with your clients as you go inside yourself. So as far as you're willing to go is as far as you can take your clients. So if you're really invested, then go for it. It's a fantastic journey and a great space to be in. It's a great community, fraternity, supportive, learning, so much learning, endless learning. So I'd say, and it also is an industry with a lot of energy, a lot of evolution, changing, constantly evolving. So this part of it is being very dynamic. The industry is very dynamic. So I enjoy that part of it very much.
So according to you, Jill, when people want to engage a coach, what do you think should be their strategy on how to engage a coach?
If someone is interested in engaging with a coach, it would be a great opportunity to take referrals, speak to people, start discussions, and I would say interview. And by having some get to know you conversations with coaches, you can really get an opportunity to ask them questions and get to know the type of style that they have, the type of approach that they have to the work, and also just to confirm their credentialing and confirm their years of experience and where they got their training from. And it's great to know and have confidence in the people that you will be trusting and the people that you will be confiding in. So I really would suggest to look around and see who you connect with, see where the synergy lies, and follow that.
I love the fact that you said that, training is important and credentialing is important, but also what's critical to choose the right coach is the synergy. And yes, hence, talking to a couple of people from the fraternity is a good idea. Moving to the last question of this session, what is your message to share with people about how coaching could help them?
Coaching is really an opportunity to connect with yourself, with others, and it's of benefit for anyone who is wanting to live their life more through their own values and integrity. And I can say that I've always been since my first coach, always invested in a coach for the past 6 years. Once it's a space that you find, you'll continue to go back, seeing the value there. So the message is just, I would say, try it for some time, give it a couple of hours and see. It will be new, it will be different, it will be like no other conversation you've had, yet there's a huge opportunity there. And I would wish anyone, students, professionals, any age, of any background, to just give it a try and see. When you find a good coach, it's like nothing else. So I would really encourage everyone to try and connect.
So beautiful that was, Jill. I love that. You can go as far as you want to, take your clients as far as you want to go as well. Beautiful. Well, lady, thank you so much for sharing your time with us, Jill. It has been an absolute pleasure, and on behalf of the ICF Mumbai Charter Chapter, this is Priya Sharma Shaikh signing off. And until next time, be safe and happy, and keep coaching.